Hello, people out there in the social media world. This is Jennifer Lahl with the Center for Bioethics and Culture, and I'm sitting down here with Meghan. Meghan's in North Carolina, and we're going to be chatting about her experience as an egg donor, a former egg donor. So, welcome, Meghan, and thanks for agreeing to chat with me and tell your story to others. Yeah. So let's just get right into it and. Tell me a little bit about how old you were when you made the decision to become an egg donor and why you made that decision.
Sure, I was 25 and I had just graduated grad school, and I definitely had a lot of student loan debt, so I can't lie that the compensation was a part of the reason, or enticing anyway. And just, yeah, the idea of giving back to a couple that needed to have a baby. And I everything I heard about it was that it was really simple, really easy, and I have my period every month anyway, so what difference would it be? That's kind of the really naive position I was in at the time. I really thought it would be like just a really easy experience.
Yeah, and so did you see an ad, or did somebody just tell you about it? Or, I mean, how did you even know that this was a way to make money and help people?
Well, actually, it's kind of awkward, but my mom had always told me that I was born from sperm donation, so I always knew that that was something out there, and I knew that women could do the same with their eggs. It turned out later on, I found out that that wasn't actually true. I'm not born from a sperm donor, but
Oh my goodness, why would she
so
say that?
some drama with
Okay.
that, but
We'll save that for another conversation, maybe.
yeah, that could be a whole nother conversation, definitely.
Yeah.
But I kind of just always knew that sperm donation, egg donation were options for people to have children. I knew that people who couldn't have children had that option. So it was something that I knew about for a really long time. And
Got it. Got it. So you're 25. You make the decision. You go in. I'm a nurse. I'm always interested in once you actually met with the clinic or the doctor or the nurses or whoever you first met with. Did you feel that you were really informed of what was going to be all encompassing in this?
no, definitely not. I mean, I think at the time I was just so naive, and I trusted everyone there. I mean, everyone was so nice to me. They were very friendly to me and really welcoming. The staff they were welcoming. But I remember doing my own research about the risks involved, and I really didn't come up with much other than people's personal stories of like maybe some horror stories here and there, and I kind of just brushed it off like, well, that's really rare. That won't happen to me, and that's what the staff told me too. They said that's very rare. Like hyperstimulation was, I think, the only thing that they mentioned as a potential risk, and they said it was very rare. And but yeah, I would say that I was not informed very well at all, especially knowing what I know now about everything. I didn't even fully understand how the procedure worked. Like, I didn't quite understand that a needle was going to be going into my ovaries, and I definitely didn't know like what I know now about Lupron, that it's not FDA approved for fertility use. No one told me that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I'm learning now after the fact that they really should have told me ahead of time.
Yeah. Do you mind me asking how much you were paid?
The compensation was $4,000.
And how many eggs did they retrieve?
They told me it was 20 eggs.
Yeah. So
But I'm not really
you make the decision to do it. You sign on the dotted line. They give you a bag full of drugs, send you on your way, tell you to go home and start giving yourself shots.
Yes.
And what happened?
Well, leading up to the procedure, they had me doing an ultrasound just about every other day, just to count how many eggs were coming if they were ready, and they were doing blood tests and everything. I went to the procedure. I remember waking up still kind of out of it, like I don't even remember, but they sent me home. Whatever paper I was supposed to sign off on, I was like not conscious. So my mom signed it, and it basically just said, if you have any problems, call this on-call nurse, and you should probably just expect maybe some mild cramping or some spotting. That was really all they told me to expect. So I went home, and I was just tired, so I went to sleep, and I told my mom, I'm fine, I feel fine, you can go home. To go to the bathroom, and on the way to the bathroom, I fainted. So I woke up on the floor, and I called the on-call nurse, and she said, oh, you're probably just dehydrated. It's probably just the sedation. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. So I did, and I tried to go back to sleep. And then my abdomen, I started feeling a lot of pain, and it just got worse and worse throughout the night. They also told me to expect to be at work the next day. They said it was going to be fine. So I was planning to be at work the next day, and my supervisor knew that I was doing the donation. So once the pain set in, it was getting worse. I texted my supervisor, and I was like, I don't think I can make it. This is getting worse, and something's not right. And then that's when I had ovarian torsion, which I didn't know what that was at the time, but in the moment, I just felt this really excruciating stabbing pain in my abdomen, to the point where I was like vocally like screaming out loud. I've never ever in my life experienced anything that painful. And I remember thinking to myself, this must be what a heart attack feels like. But and logically it couldn't have been because it was so low, but that's what it felt like. And the pain was like shooting up into my chest and into my shoulders. So it was kind of scary that I was feeling pain in my chest. And I called the on-call nurse, and she prescribed me Tylenol with codeine. And luckily my roommate was home, so because I was in no state to drive to the pharmacy. I was in so much pain. I was laying on my bed, shaking, and I couldn't even get under the covers. I was in so much pain. So luckily my roommate picked up that Tylenol with codeine. I took it, and I thought, okay, this is gonna work. I'm gonna feel better. And then it happened again, and I was again screaming in pain, and I called the on-call nurse, and she said, is your pain 0 to 10? And I was like, it's definitely a 10. It's 11. It's a 10 I've never, this is a whole new 10, a 10 I've never had before. And she said, you probably need to go to the ER. So my roommate took me to the ER, and they did an ultrasound and found that my ovaries were bleeding. They restricted my diet. They gave me lots of narcotics and fluids. Told me they restricted my diet because they were going to prepare me for surgery. And so they admitted me to the hospital for 3 days, and my hemoglobin kind of just kept going up and down. So once it started stabilizing, they said, okay, maybe you'll be okay, but then it dropped again, and then they were going to put me in surgery again. But luckily,
Had they yet diagnosed the torsion ovary? Or they still didn't know what they were dealing with?
No. I think the only diagnosis on my discharge paperwork was ovarian hematoma, because I didn't have the torsion once I got to the hospital. I don't know if maybe the fluids were helping, or I'm not sure what was helping, but or maybe it was the painkillers, actually, because I was pretty out of it. They gave me a lot of heavy opiates, and that definitely helped the pain, so my ovaries might have just kind of relaxed or something. But luckily, I'm really fortunate I did not end up needing surgery. They stopped bleeding on their own. And while I was in the hospital, the fertility clinic, who I guess she was like the liaison between me and the couple who would receive the eggs, she told me they were waiting for my next cycle. And I told her, I was crying to her on the phone, please don't make me do this again. I can't do this again. You'll have to tell that other couple they have to pick somebody else. I can't do this. And then upon discharging me from the hospital, this was kind of weird to me, but the hospital staff said, it's really good that we didn't have to do surgery, because that would have meant we would have had to take out your ovaries. But nobody told me that, like, when they were telling me, you can't eat because you might have to go in surgery. Like, nobody told me that, what that meant. And I was just, like, out of it and didn't know what was going on. But I'm really lucky I did not lose my ovaries.
And how long were you in the hospital?
3 days.
3 days. How many years ago has this been now?
Almost 3.5 or 4 years ago now.
Okay. And you didn't donate your eggs anymore?
No.
And how long did it take your health to get back to normal, or have you even gotten back to normal?
Well, that's a good question. Well, my physical healing was fine after like 2 weeks. Physically, all the doctors said I would be okay, but I had much more of an intense emotional experience afterward. I was extremely anxious all the time. I was crying all the time. I was just so terrified that something bad was going to happen to me or to my body. I was scared to use my body to do anything. I used to take dance classes. I was scared that if I started moving around that something was going to hurt me. I was having nightmares that the doctor was raping me. I was just like scared of everything. I was just terrified of everything. And I told the doctor at the fertility clinic, I told him I'm not okay. Something is wrong. I'm crying all the time. I'm really anxious. I'm just jumping out of my skin. And he told me that it was because I was on all those hormones, and now that I'm not on hormones anymore, it's just a dip in the hormones. So I felt really dismissed and didn't really feel like they were going to help me at all. And of course, months went by, and I was still just not doing well at all. I couldn't sleep. I had no appetite. I started to lose weight, and my clothes weren't fitting me anymore. I just had this really intense emotional experience. I was really anxious. I was depressed. I had no energy, no motivation. Just felt like I couldn't be happy, and I was just scared all the time.
And how did you get out of that, or are you still dealing with that and battling with those emotions?
So, I would say there's a lot of things I've done to get out of it for the most part, and there are still times that it upsets me. But luckily, because I'm a therapist, I know what resources are out there. So I was seeing my primary therapist every week. And then I started to see another therapist who specialized in yoga for trauma. And that was really helpful because it just helped me get back into my body and feeling more comfortable in my body again. Because every time I would just, certain poses in yoga, I would just freeze up and I'll cry. Like there's a happy baby pose where you have to lay on your back and your feet are up in the air. And, it's really similar to being in an ultrasound or on an operating table. And I couldn't do that pose. I would just freeze and cry. And so doing this yoga for trauma therapy was just a long progression of getting back into my body and being able to regulate my emotions while I was in these poses. And then that was really helpful. And then, in addition to medication, I actually saw a psychiatrist. Once I was losing weight and not sleeping, I just got pretty desperate. And this was several months, maybe 6 months after the procedure, that I was still really suffering. And the psychiatrist diagnosed me with PTSD, depression, and anxiety, and gave me a medication to help with the sleeping and the eating. And it helped with everything. It was actually a really good experience for me. And then I did a couple other different trauma-specific therapies. I mean, I was just doing all kinds of different like self-help activities and books and like a retreats. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Anything I could get my hands on. I wanted to heal. And I was on the medication for about a year, and I was starting to feel a lot better, and that the side effects of the medication were kind of outweighing the benefits. So I talked to a psychiatrist, and we tapered off the medication, and I've been fine. I haven't had like a big relapse in symptoms. So probably a year and a half of a lot of therapy and medication, and well, just one medication was really what helped me get out of all of it. But definitely once in a while.
Yeah. So
I mean, right now, just talking about it, I still get a little sweat.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Or like I tried to watch this TV show about this girl who was pregnant, and I had to turn it off because watching like the things that she had to go through in the medical room being pregnant, I just some things I can get a little uncomfortable with or feel a little panicky about. And to be honest with you, probably the biggest impact I'm dealing with right now is that I want to have kids of my own, but I'm terrified. I am so scared to be pregnant and to give birth and to be in the medical system. And that really sucks because my husband wants to have kids, and I really wanted kids before this happened.
Speaking of kids, you could have kids out there. You donated a lot of eggs.
Yeah.
And were you an open donor or were you an anonymous donor or? So
actually, that's the thing about this clinic is that we didn't have any choices about any of that. It was all strictly anonymous. I don't even know if it was successful. But I think it was because they continued to call me multiple times trying to get me to donate again.
Wow, after all you've been through?
That would send me into a panic and anger, and because every single time I told them, no, I almost lost my ovaries. Like, I don't want to do this again.
Wow.
I tried to explain to one of the people that called me, I said, I'm not okay. I am still like emotional and I'm just not okay. That whole thing just messed me up.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So let me ask you real quick, because we met on Facebook, and then I sent you the links to watch Eggsploitation and then Maggie's story, which I know you've watched. I mean, what kind of emotions did you have when you watched other women telling their stories? Or was there one particular woman that you really resonated with? Or?
Well, honestly, I resonated with all of them, even though we all had different experiences. There was a common thread of just being dismissed and not taken care of and not informed and just, yeah, I mean, we just weren't taken care of. The clinics just washed their hands of us and took advantage of us. Even, I think it was Maggie's story where she thought she had breast cancer and they told her it was nothing, and she went and donated again because she trusted them. And that's, I relate to that because I trusted them. And yeah, now I definitely don't. And in fact, I don't trust any doctors now. I'm very skeptical of doctors at this point.
Yeah. And now if some young woman was asking you about doing this, what would you tell her?
Oh, gosh. I'm still figuring that out. I know that because I work in perinatal mental health. I've talked to my therapist about this. If I have a client who is thinking about donating, I probably have to tell them that I'm not the best person to support you with making this decision because I can't be neutral. I am biased about it, and I had a bad experience and I would never do it again. So if you want someone neutral to help you make that decision, then I'm not going to be your best fit, and I can give you, refer you to another counselor. But if it were like a friend or, oh man, I mean, one part of me wants to say don't do it, but I don't know. it's so tricky. I don't think there's anything. I don't have any like moral issues with donating eggs and women receiving eggs. That's not that I have a problem with. It's more just this industry not taking care of people. And I think if women want to donate their eggs, yeah, do it. But they need to be informed, and they need to be taken care of and respected, and they need to be safe. That's the most important thing.
What do you think about the money? I mean, we don't let organ donors get paid. We call them donors because they really are donating. What do you think about the money aspect as far as somebody who works in medicine, which we don't normally offer non-patients money to do things that might harm them, with their body? Should the money be taken out of it? So that's not, I mean, clearly most women are doing this because they are motivated by financial need. And the industry says that if we take the money out of it, then women won't do this. But is that, that's sort of my take as a nurse, using the model of donation. Donation means it's a donation.
Right. I mean, it's through gifts has no strings attached. So it's not really truly a donation. We're compensated financially. And I do think it does play a role in making the decision to do it. I don't know that I would have done it if there wasn't money involved. No. But it wasn't worth it. I would trade the money and not have that experience.
Yeah, right. I mean, I hear that a lot from surrogates too, that, are financially in need, and then they realize, well, it really didn't solve anything. Maybe it helped me for a short period of time, but it didn't, I still struggle with day-to-day finances. And
yeah, it didn't really help me at all. I was out of work for a week. I had to pay for all my therapy and psychiatry, and I mean, it wasn't worth it at all.
Well, we're at the end of our time. You look like you've frozen up again. I'm thankful that we had this opportunity to chat.
Yeah, thank you for listening.